Hey y'all, hey, it's Tony here. I am going to talk about building your coop and getting prepared. So if you didn't see my video prior to this, I did a what to do if you're expecting chickens and doing your research. If you didn't watch that one, make sure you go to my previous video and watch that before you go on to this, because building a coop when you're not prepared on chickens and done your research, there's no point to build a coop. So with that being said, first, don't forget, if you are getting chicks, you need a brooder area. What that means is you need an area to where you can have a heat lamp, some food, and some water with some shavings for them to get bigger. You do not want to put them in the elements of the weather. You don't want to put them outside in the coop if you have other hens. You don't want to put them outside because they're not ready for it. You want to keep them in the brooder for at least 4 weeks. And the reason why I say that is because you need them to get to a size to where they won't get picked off, or they won't peck at each other, or they can't fit through the fencing that you have in your area. So the brooder, just get a heat lamp, a little area, a dog kennel, or if you have like a playpen area, anything that is a little small area but big enough to hold your chicks for at least 4 weeks. I say 4 weeks because that's just a good time and that's a good size for them. You want to base it off their size. If they're big enough, you can put them outside. If they're not big enough, hang on to them. Don't put them out there, and don't put them in no harm's way. The last thing you want to do is lose your chickens because you put them outside too soon or put them in the coop in the run too soon. So with that being said, building your coop before you get your chickens or while they're in the brooder is probably the best idea. Don't just go and get chickens without having a coop ready. That's not ideal. I was one of those that we ended up saving a rooster. We saved a hen, and we had to build the coop after getting them. The coop is not what I want it to be, but it's suffice for right now. We will be redoing the whole entire thing probably come summertime, but at least I can share with you all my lessons and my mistakes that I learned because I had to do it at the very last minute, and it's not what I want it to be or convenient. So with that being said, when you are building your coop, you need to know the land that you're putting it on. Make sure it's not a flood zone. Make sure it's not low ground to high ground. Make sure it's flat. You just want to check out your land when you build your coop and your run or whatever you're building with the coop. You do want to build a run with it, just saying that. You don't want it to just be your coop area. You want some other space for them to roam around, especially if you free range and you're not up in time. At least it gives them the chance to roam around. If you don't want them to roam while you're sleeping, then you're going to completely have your coop shut off. But probably the majority of the people that are going to be watching this are going to have non-free ranging, so you want an area for a run. That's just the space that's covered, that gives them the ability to go forage, to go be chickens if you're not going to free range. So make sure you have a covered run, and if it's covered with hardware cloth, then that's okay. If you don't want to have it free from the rain elements or anything like that, that's okay, you can, but make sure you have it predator proof. You don't want hawks coming in on top. They will pick your chickens because they are in an area to where the hawks can get them. So make sure you have your hardware cloth on top. So building your coop, you want to think about nesting boxes. You want to think about your roosting area. You need to think about your venting space, but not having a draft. You want to think about easy egg gathering and easy access for you to be able to get in, clean, gather your eggs, do what you need to do, freshen up everything, and get out. So first, your nesting boxes. You want them to be a big enough space for the chickens to be able to get in. So you want about at least this high. They don't need much space. They don't really stand. They just need to be able to get in and crouch. And if they stand, that means they're laying the egg, but about this much. So you got about 12 inches, 6 to 12 inches that you want for the height of your box. You don't need it very wide just to fit a chicken or 2 or 3, because no matter how many nesting boxes you have, you'll have multiple chickens in one box. But you want it to be about this. So a good square size like this, enough space for them to get in. You can use pine shavings. I'm going to start looking into where I can find coffee grounds. They're not just any coffee grounds, they're actually decaffeinated coffee grounds for chickens. It's easier and it smells better. I just haven't had a chance to get it or find it in my area, and it's a little bit more pricey. The shavings that I get for Tractor Supply. They're $7.99 for a big old bag, so that's just something that I have to take in consideration as well. But it's all about researching, finding out what's in your area, finding out what feed stores you have, what other kind of stores you have in your area that will provide for your needs. But the nesting boxes, you always want to have a layer to protect the egg when it drops, and also just to give the chicken comfort. But pine shavings work the best right now. That's what I've been using. My suggestion is don't use hemp. There's been a lot of research that it's actually causing less egg production. So there's that. So going from your nesting boxes, because those are going to be used all day, make sure you clean them, but make sure you have a good box to where you can clean them, because you will get poop. It's inevitable. There will be poop in your nesting boxes. So your roosting area. So at nighttime when your chickens go up, they need a roosting area. They need kind of a branch or some kind of little bit of a flat surface, not completely flat, but enough to where it's like an inch to where they can put their feet and kind of crouch down. They roost the best on, for me, branches from trees. I have walnut orchards and we have a lot of trees that we have to take down, and sometimes we have the big branches that are perfect. They're round, they're about that size, and they're about that long. So I'll put them up and then they will roost on there. So branches, using what you have and not having to go buy something will save you a lot, but also reuse and recycle. But they love branches. So I have some of those up. If you're going to build a roosting spot, maybe do it as an angle. You can get some, 2x4s, put it at an angle, and then just do rows across. Those are a good way, but you want it at an angle because your chickens poop at night and you don't want them to poop on each other, and you don't want it to kind of cause a problem. If you're not cleaning your coop properly, you're going to have sicknesses, just like regular sick. When you have children or yourself, if you are living in filth, you're going to get sick. You're either going to get a cold, a sinus infection, a respiratory infection, anything like that. So same thing with your chickens. If you're not cleaning your chickens, it becomes kind of an ammonia smell and style, and it will cause sicknesses. Respiratory issues with chickens are very deathly. You can use, cord, and you can use different antibiotics, but for the most part, if your chickens get a respiratory, that's going to be the hardest one to fight. So clean out your coop and make it accessible to where you can. If you have roosting bars, you can put something underneath it where it collects the poop and you can scrape it out. There's many different ways. Just go and kind of Pinterest or pictures or chicken groups or anything like that. They'll show you different roosting areas. I'm going to redo mine, but mine is, we have the 2x4s to hold up the coop, and I have tree branches kind of on the 2x4s across the way for them to roost onto. And they've been fine like that. I've actually was doing it, well, for a while they were roosting over my nesting boxes, and the nesting boxes were just getting filthy. So I've had to remove some wood and adjust and stuff. So I'm just saying, be prepared for your coop to get disgusting. Be prepared for your coop to get pooped. That's the best way I could say it. Make it as convenient as you can for yourself to be able to clean. So your roosting bars and where your roosting bars are very important when it comes to your coop. The next thing you want to think about is your venting. You want it to vent the air through, but you don't want a draft. So just like when you open up your windows, you don't want the draft in. If you're trying to air out the house, if you have smoke or something like that, you still want to get something out. So you want to have some sort of a draft. If you want to put like a little fan to get the air out, if you power it with solar panels, because you don't really want cords going to your coop to cause a fire. But there's different ways that you can vent it. If you have, a venting window, anything that you create, you definitely want to have some sort of way to get the stale air out and just kind of keep that air flowing. But also when it's cold and, we have 29-degree weather right now with wind, you want to keep that draft from coming through because you don't want them cold at night. You don't want frostbite. You don't want anything. They can handle the cold. They really can. That's what the feathers are for. That's why they molt during winter, is because when they molt, which means they're pretty much shedding their feathers to create new feathers, they're creating thicker feathers to help them through the winter. So they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine with the cold, but you want to make sure that everything's up and up in your coop, because when they're sleeping, they have no control over what they're doing. They're not eating, they're not roaming around, they're not trying to stay warm, they're just sleeping. So you want to have no draft in your venting, but enough to where it keeps the air flowing. I have already talked about easy egg gathering, but if you are building your nesting boxes, make sure you have access to the eggs. I would say do it from behind, because if you do it from the front, as some of you may have seen, I get pecked at when I'm trying to collect the eggs because mama hens do not want to give up their eggs. So, or actually have you in their space when they are trying to lay an egg. So I would suggest creating something from the back. That's why a lot of the coops that are already pre-made have the opening to where you would reach from the back. So that's something you have to consider as well. You can get a pre-made. I wanted to touch base. You can get a pre-made one. You just have to be prepared, because if you get a pre-made one and the size is too small for what you want, that's not going to be good. So make sure you know how many hens you're getting. Make sure how many can fit in the pre-made coop area before you get it. I can't get a pre-made one because I have more hens that would fit in the area. There's not enough nesting boxes. There's not enough roosting space, and it's just too small. I would need quite a few. I was just at Tractor Supply seeing one, and I'm like, that's too small. I would need 3 of them. So I need to build one that's going to be suffice for my 50 plus chickens. I'm probably going to have 100 chickens by the end of the year, so I need to build to make it suffice for them, to make it big enough, to make it good enough, to make the eggs accessible, not dirty, make it be able to where I can clean easier, and so forth. So you just want it to make it convenient for you as well, because cleaning is the most important part of having your coop. It is the biggest thing that I wish I had taken into consideration. But like I said, when we built the coop that we have now, it was like a last minute thing. It was a emergency. We were saving a rooster and a hen from being attacked from others, and so it was a last minute thing. Had I been prepared, there had been a totally different style. But also, I wasn't really completely aware of what it all was going to entail until I started getting chickens that were in the roosting area and pooping and laying eggs and doing all of that. So I'm going to redo my entire area, because cleaning is not easy. Cleaning is actually the worst chore that I have, and that's because it's not convenient. It's not easy to do. It takes a long time. Even if I was doing it every day. I do it once a week now, but I need to go back to doing it every other day. It's just difficult. The way to do it with the pigs and everything, it's not an easy way. So if I can express to you to make it easy for you to clean your coop, I will. Because that's going to be the most important thing. That's going to be the most important to keep your chickens alive. It keeps the diseases away. It keeps the sicknesses away. It keeps the flies away and the ants and other predators, because I'm lucky where I'm at. I have cats to keep my predators away, and I have the chickens that free roam. But if you don't, you have to think about your area and what chicken poop attracts and what the smell of it will attract. It'll attract animals that you don't want. So going into building a coop that's going to be predator proof, you have to think about your area. I have raccoons in this area, and we have hawks and coyotes. I stress about them every single day. So at nighttime, I make sure that everyone's in their coop and they're okay. My coop is falling apart because of the wind, so the run area is a little open. I do worry about that, but I have my pigs, so I'm not worried about the animals getting in because I have the pigs. If you don't have the luck like I do that have different animals in your coop area, then you want to be prepared. You have to be prepared for raccoons, foxes, minks, rats, snakes, hawks, owls, bears, coyotes, bobcats. Those are all predators that are going to come for your chickens, and those are all predators that can smell when you have chickens because you're not keeping up with it and you're not cleaning. Cleaning is going to be the most important thing that I'm going to stress, is make sure you clean your coop. Make sure you have everything that you need. If you're building your coop, what is going to be the best way for you to clean it? Do you need a poop scooper like, you have for the dogs? Do you need a paint scraper to where you scrape the poop off of the top of it and you put it into a bucket? Do you want to use the coffee grounds and kind of get like a cat litter scooper and scoop it out that way? There's so many different ways that you can go about, but what's going to be the easiest for you, the most convenient for you, and what's going to be the best for your chickens. But hardware cloth, protecting your flock, especially at night, because that's at nighttime is where you're going to get the most animals going into your coop or trying to get into the coop. So make sure your coop is predator proof. You want to have no small holes because minks can get into it, rats can get into it, snakes can get into it. So when you're building your coop, think about think about animals that can dig underneath and get underneath the wire. So you're going to want to dig out a hole, put the wire underneath, so if anything digs, they can't get into it because you have put your wire so far deep into the ground that they're going to be protected. All of this goes into the coop and the run and everything. It all falls into each other. And you want to make sure that you are in the most protected spot when it comes to your animals and your chickens. Protection is key. Venting, eggs, cleaning, it all works together. The last thing I want to touch base on is your weather. So you've protected yourself and your animals from predators. You have it convenient enough to where you can clean. You have it convenient enough to where you can gather the eggs without having any issues. But what about weather? Have you thought about your weather? Have you thought about what area you are in? To where are you windy? I have constant wind, so I have to make sure I adapt it to the wind. We have rain. We have heat. So you have to think about those. Are you in snow? Are you in an area where it gets down below 0 in the winter? Are you somewhere where it gets to 118 during the summertime? Are you somewhere to where it's constantly winding 20 miles plus or gusts up to 50 miles an hour? You have to consider all of these. So your area during the summertime and the wintertime, take in consideration. How are you setting up your coop? Are you putting it against the wind? Are you putting it to where the sun's going to be barreling down onto it during the summertime and it's just going to be frying your chickens and have some fried eggs? Are you going to be having a lot of rain? Are you going to have snow during the winter? You have to think about these things. You have to consider it, and you have to make the coop warm enough but vented enough and free from the elements. If it's ice, you need to keep them warm. If it's heat, you need to keep them cool, and you don't want the poop to go bad in the coop. You don't want it to fry, so you got to make sure that you have enough venting because the poop is inevitable. It's going to be there. You're not going to get to it every single day. If you do, congratulations. It is definitely hard some days because you do have life outside of your farm. So these are so many different things that you have to consider. Yes, having chickens is fun. Yes, having chickens are worth it, but there's so many things that go into it before you even get these chickens, and also adapting while you have them with different things that are going on. You're not going to know everything, and you're not going to be prepared for everything, but at least you can do is prepare for what you can control. You can't control weather, but you can control how you're prepared for the weather and the heat and the snow and the rain and everything like that. You're not going to be prepared for sicknesses, but you can at least prevent it by cleaning out your coop and having the best available spot for your coop and roosting areas and nesting boxes and all of that. There's a lot that you can control based on what the elements are around. What you can't control are the elements and the predators and everything like that. But use what you can. Do take control of what you can take control of. Protecting your animals is your responsibility. Protecting your animals is something you can control. Doing the best that you can. There's going to be something that takes them. There's going to be something that kills them. There's going to be something as a disease that you can't control. But if you do everything to be proactive, then you don't have to be so reactive, and you don't have to worry about what the next thing is going to come at you. If you're proactive and you're prepared and you do your research and you have enough information to get started, then I think you'll be successful. But like I say, and I'll say it every time, it's not when you're going to lose your chicken, it's going to be if and how. And if you lose them by other things, it's going to happen. But if you lose them by things that you can control, that's the hardest part. Because if you've done your research, you do what you can, you're prepared, and you still lose them because you're not prepared, that's up to you. So, this is my video on building a coop, being prepared on building a coop, and what to do to protect your flock, because that's going to be the most important. Protect your flock, and if you protect your flock will take care of you and take care of your family needs and give you all of the eggs and the essentials that this life is needed for. So if you have any questions, please comment below. Please reach out. And as always, like, subscribe, and click that bell so you can get more. I'll be back with another video, because this is going to be something that I think is very important for anybody who's going to be becoming a brand new chicken farmer. So with that being said, much love and many blessings.